So what I want to tell you today is, although we have created this page, I want you to bring a tremendous amount of awareness as to how much time you're truly spending on the Instagrams or the Twitters or the Facebooks, because that can really take over our entire lives, and we start to feel this necessity to be on these platforms. Matt, how are you? Stephen, how are you? Leslie, what's going on? Michael, good to see you guys. Karen, how are you? Andre, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Bernice, yes. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing. Although we have created this page, please, please, please do not feel like you have to be on any specific page. Please bring awareness to the fact that the miracles are around you. The miracles are within you. They are not on a tablet. They are not on a computer. They are not on a mobile device. So please make sure that you are recognizing the fact that you need to structure in the amount of time that you want to spend on social media. So deleted Facebook from the iPad, Karen. I only added it back to listen to you. Okay, that's fine. That's great. That's great. Thank you for doing that. We did have a YouTube video, so you can comment below and just tell me what you gained from the video, my friends. Everybody's going to gain a different lesson from the video. I want to hear from you guys in terms of what the insight was from today's video. And I'm excited to be here, Kylie. I do want to get into Q&As as quickly as possible, because most, if not all, our future Facebook Lives, my friends, are going to be based on this idea, because now we have the monthly masterclasses where they are more so a class environment. They are more so a little bit more teachy, and, well, I can hear you guys, so that's a little bit different. So it's a little bit different. So these are going to be more Q&As, and master classes are going to be more technical, and they're going to be more tactical and such. So hope everyone's enjoying their tea. What are you drinking? I know I've got mine ready. It's a little bit hot, but let's give it a shot. Yum yum in the tum tum. Montana says, hello, Robin.
Hello, Montana.
Yes, Robin is awake. Nicole says, hi, Robin.
Hello.
Good to see you all. Cheryl, I gained clarity in where I am on my journey, and I'm exactly where I thought I was by your description of the 3 steps. Okay. You know, the other thing, guys, is this little transition here, if I may just add a couple of things before we really get into Q&A. This little transition from fear and striving, fighting, commitments and such, moving away from that world and being on that bridge of vulnerability, and being in the middle where you have the potential to go forward towards something new, or you also have the potential to go backwards towards what was familiar and who you were before. What we really need to understand is that you truly, in the moment and as you go through your day, you need to truly live out. You need to live out what you already know, right? If you don't live out what you already know, we're going to default back to what has been common and the most consistent in our lives, which is how we used to be, caught up in such, right? And I'm finding that you will have a tremendous amount of opportunity to live out what you know as you go through the day. And what you have to do is you have to take those opportunities. You really do. I'll give you a little example. when you're around people, for example, the motivation or the push is to be interactive, is to be a part of something, is to lengthen the conversation as much as possible and such. And yes, social skills are important. It's important to build social skills with people, but I don't believe in feeling pressured to be someone that you're not. I don't believe in, that tension to say something that really is very meaningless to you and maybe small talk, for example. So what we have to do in that moment is recognize that you being quiet or you being silent or you being, sitting there with a smile on your face and speaking at the time that you choose and saying something meaningful and such. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with being that way. I'm done, and I hope that you are done with being led by the expectations of society, right? And the expectations of your subconscious inner child that is push, push, push. Would it be yang energy? And so I hope that speaks to you a little bit, because not only within people, not only within conversations, but as you go through the day, really, check in to see if you're being real with yourself, if you're being true to yourself, because you're not going to get very far gaining all this information and knowledge and even helping others, but never playing the part yourself, never emphasizing what's important to you, never taking a moment to say, hey, am I being true to myself, right? My true self. And that true self enjoys silence. That true self loves being meditative from moment to moment. That true self allows a room to be messy from time to time. That true self, is real. So I do believe that the more awareness we can bring to our day, the better our days are going to be, and the more you're going to find that you are in fact crossing that bridge, and no longer do you feel vulnerable, but you feel like, hey, things are really coming together here. So my 2 cents on that, my friends. Let's get into some Q&A. If you have any questions, let's do it. I woke up about an hour ago and had a nice little hike yesterday in Ubud, if you guys saw the Instagram stories and such. But so I am even more at peace and kind of waking up here. So I hope that's okay with everybody. May not be as spicy as I usually am, but that's all good. And I think that's okay too, We got to get away from the labels. We have to get away from the judgments. You feel a certain way, be that way, right? That is what it is. It was a great hike, Jody. And I did go on the hike. I think Andre's here too. I went on the hike with Andre, who who I got to know through, I think it was the Instagram. And so it's really nice to be able to do these things with people that I care about. So yes, the move to Bali is permanent. Yes. So if anybody in the future, post-COVID, wants to come down and do a little hike with me, why not? Right? Why not? Awesome, Cheryl. Good to hear. Good to hear you're in a good place. Yes, traveling a bit, well-rounded. Awesome. Authenticity is the key to becoming confident, Leslie. Thank you for these beautiful messages, guys. It's really, this community here is not about me. It's not about you. It really is about us. So I really want to regain that if we can. Michael, how are you? You're very welcome. course. Thank you for trusting in what we're putting out there. Week 13 of the inner circle. Good for you and that commitment, my friend. I've not missed a day. My family has noticed many changes. Awesome. If you stick to the inner circle, you will. It's inevitable that you will see changes. I don't see it being any other way. Good for you. Good for you. Awesome. Karen's happy and helping people. Fantastic. Stephen, absolutely. Right? Would love to take you around. Yes, it is. We are, of course, we are cautious and we are, going about our days in that way. But at the same time, we want to get that sense of normalcy again, right? And so that's what I think the Balinese and the locals and the expats are striving for slowly. Matt, I am trying to get myself to that happy place, getting there. That's awesome. That's awesome. I could talk about grounding, Leslie. Absolutely, we can talk about grounding. One of the things about grounding, my friends, is, and you'll notice in the inner circle, if you're going through the inner circle, there is a day or a couple days there where you have to practice grounding. And grounding is, when we think about earth, wind, fire, water. When we think about these elements, I go through my day making sure that I have touched on each and every one of these. And grounding is the ability to connect with earth, right? And so for me, what's really important is to understand that grounding is simply connecting, barefooted connecting, but not only physically, but making sure that you are mentally connecting to the earth beneath you, which could be the grass, it could be the field, it could be the sand, it could be the water, it could be the ocean, it could be a lake, it doesn't matter. It's a reconnection with nature, it's a reconnection with earth. Because we wear socks all the time, which separates us from that connection. We wear shoes all the time, which separates us from that connection. We are always, many times, walking on the pavement, which kind of gives us that artificial feel and that energy rising in our bodies. So what we want to do is we want to balance that out with grounding. And I'm a big believer in grounding every day in some way. Worst case scenario, buy some grass and make a little square, right, in your bedroom or whatever, and close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and just allow your feet to ground within that grass. So there's always a way with grounding. Worst case scenario, is you can imagine yourself grounding, which is completely fine, right? You can take yourself to that comfortable, safe place within the forest or the beach or whatever it is, and you can imagine it happening. I'm starting to really dial in on this idea of imagery, my friends. I am seeing a tremendous benefit in my own life along with other people. And if I were to say there was one important skill set for you to master, it would be the ability to consciously imagine and run certain images and movies through your mind. But not only through your mind, but through your body as well. You want to feel the feelings, you want to feel the emotions and such. So yes, as Karen's referring to, grounding can be done through imagery exercises, 100%. And I think that while you're grounding, whether it be through imagery or whether it be through physical, what we do have to understand is that we have to make sure that everything is synchronized in that moment. And what I mean by that is we can't be grounding while at the same time focusing on our to-do lists. We can't be meditating and then be led towards, something we need to do or someone we need to be for a social gathering in the future, for example, right? When we're meditating, when we're grounding, these sorts of things, I think it's very important that we really pay attention to the lessons that we're gaining in that moment. Okay, there are lessons showing up because grounding allows for you to move away from intelligence and move towards intuition. right? So grounding allows us to move away from instinct and towards intuition. So you no longer feel like you are caught up. You no longer feel like you are going. But through grounding and other exercises, you have this ability to tap into your intuitiveness, which we lose, right? Quite quickly, in fact, at a young age, intuitiveness. And we tend to replace that with feeling like, our thinking needs to handle everything, which is very, very limited. Okay, we become limited beings if, in fact, we rely on thinking to overcome each and every situation we encounter throughout the day. So that's what grounding really does for me and does for other people. So please make sure that you are in the moment. You are taking the lessons. You are really connecting, and you are allowing yourself to connect. You really need to step out of who you believe you need to be and step into your true self during grounding in order for it to be really effective, right? So keep on grounding, Leslie and everybody else out there. Yeah, let's keep the questions going, guys, for sure. Let's enjoy our teas. Let's take a few moments here to just be, right? I wanted to do a video where I didn't say anything. I was like this. Right? And to do a video like that, right? And for just a few minutes. And then whoever watched the video to really get to know themselves better through the video. To recognize, am I being overly judgmental? Am I looking for something? Or is there an answer here? Is there something here that I can tap into, So, yeah, like I said, let's allow ourselves to just be today and to kind of enjoy all the progress we've been making, right? Leslie's going to go get a patch of grass. That's awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Calming the central nervous system, Karen. When we talk about calming our central nervous systems, I think what's important to understand is that, yes, we do have these calming exercises. There's a host of those things, and when you go to therapy sessions and such, you will be met with breathing exercises, which are fantastic. You will be met with other things to calm your nervous system. But when I am met with someone who's about to apply a specific technique, right? Tapping, for example, could be used for that. I really need to tap into the person themselves before they implement something to calm their nervous systems. Because on one point, yes, you can do the deep breathing, right? But the question is how long are you actually engaged in the deep breathing exercise, number one? And what sort of belief systems, what sort of intrusive thoughts, what sort of things move you away from that and back towards this feeling of having to do, be, right? So when we approach such meditative exercises to calm our nervous systems, we have to become very aware of the part of us that is resisting doing them in their wholeness, in their totality, right? To give yourself fully to the exercise itself. And what you'll notice is that there is, for a large majority of people, there is a discomfort in kind of stopping life, if you will, to take a few moments for yourself. A lot of people out there at a deep level don't believe that they are deserving of such exercises. They are not deserving of feeling that compassion towards themselves, or that love, or that peace that they get from the calming exercises such as deep breathing. And therefore, because of that, the inner child is very opportunistic and creates all these blocks that keep you away from being engaged in deep breathing. So when you are, in fact, implementing exercises that calm the nervous system, I think it's very important to not allow yourself to become frustrated by your inability to prolong the exercise itself, but for you to understand that there is a lot of lessons, teachings going on in that moment, right? So it's not about being frustrated because you can't calm yourself. It's about understanding why the inner child is preventing you from calming yourself. That's the key, right? Because you're going through your day constantly battling between subconscious and conscious. Conscious knows that breathing exercises brings me back to the present moment, gives me a calmness in my nervous system, allows me to see things more clearly, allows me to become intuitive. But the inner child doesn't like those things. It doesn't because of whatever. A previous experience, a multitude of experiences, whatever it may be, traumas at varying degrees. So again, when you are potentially looking to calm your nervous system, and if you are able to do so for the period that you want to, then great. That shows that there is a harmony or a congruence happening between those two minds, and that's fantastic. But if you are unable to do so for the period that you want, then you want to examine that a little bit. You want to ask yourself, why is my inner child so resistant to this way of being, right? My 2 cents. Stephen's mentioning the rubber band to bring yourself to the present or past and future thoughts. 100%. The rubber band exercise is very much solely, it's not by itself going to shift a perception or a perspective. It's not by itself going to bring you to a neutral place, although sometimes it may. But it will allow us to gain the insight or gain the awareness as to what's taking place in this moment. That's what the rubber band does. So you take the rubber band with you as you go through the day. You snap it at times where you want to become more aware as to what direction you are emotionally headed. And because of that awareness tool, you can go in a different direction. So that's some great insight there, right? One of the things you got to be careful of is when you put turmeric in your tea. I was not thinking much today, was I? Because the turmeric is now making the whiteness of the glass turn yellow. Dennis, you should know this by now, right? That's going to take a cleaning job. Oh, it does go away. Okay. All right. Just be aware. Greetings, Roberto, Puerto Rico. Welcome. I don't think it's the amount of turmeric. I think it's just the fact that the turmeric is in there. I need to start buying some different colored glasses, that's for sure, if I'm going to be using turmeric. Nature's dye, yes. Yes, definitely. And of course we don't want to be obsessive over our wording towards yourself and others, but Michael makes a very good point. We want to make this wording natural, of course, instead of be careful, be aware, the way we talk to our kids and the way we talk to ourselves. So Andre, my morning is fantastic. I have no complaints. I am alive. We are alive. We are together. Better than most people ever right now. So I feel good. Thank you. Yeah. Ordered the book, Brianna. Loving it so far. Chapter 7. I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Homemade toothpaste with turmeric in it. Yellow toothbrush, I bet. Yeah. I bet. I have not tried that one. You are ahead of me, Jody. Good stuff. Good stuff. You found some tea simmer balls. Oh, that's cool. Old school. Okay. I will message me if you can, Stephen. I will get you. I think it's a P.O. box number it is. Something like that. Address. I will get it to you. Awesome. Yes, Andre's here. He is the one that went on the hike with. Truly awesome, truly awesome. And yeah, I mean, it's that movie Eat, Pray, Love really put Bali on the map, right? With Ubud and such. And so peaceful compared to my Canggu is an expat-y community, not like Ubud isn't, but it's more so a go kind of feel around here. And if you get the chance, go to Ubud. I'd love the recipe, Jody. 100%. Ever have any problems with the tongue? Feeling burnt, feeling like underneath your tongue? I've been at a doctor, they say there's nothing there, but it doesn't go away ever. It's not there in the morning, and then as the day goes on, it's driving me crazy. I think, when we have certain sensations and symptoms that tend to take up our full attention, you have two options. Option number one is you can do something about it. Option number two is you can do nothing about it. The problem with option number two and doing nothing about it is we feel like it may get worse or out of our control if we, in fact, don't pay attention to it. But that's why we want to use certain responding exercises to get us to the point where we feel like we don't need to respond to the actual symptom itself, because that's where trust starts to come in. And a lot of anxiety sufferers, especially health anxiety sufferers, have a lack of trust. And a lack of trust in everything, from people to life to their own bodies and such. And this lack of trust shows up in every moment based on the amount of control that they want to have, right? The amount of certainty that they want to feel in their lives. So honestly, Amanda, you have two choices. And of course, to get to option 2, which is the ability to trust and do nothing, therefore turn your attention to the present moment and be optimistic again and such, and whatever it is, I believe you first need to implement some good responding tools. So I would go on YouTube. I would look up NLP, the anxiety guy. I would go through that video because there's a number of responding tools there. Number 2, F Coping, Start Healing. Read that book from cover to cover, and you will be met with different responding tools. Anything from the cognitive side of things to the body to auditory, and you will get a good grasp of how to respond to the intrusive thoughts or the feeling or the emotion that arises based on the symptom. And in time, you will understand that the way you used to deal with these symptoms were very much time-consuming, energy-consuming, and you no longer choose to be led in that direction. So I would start there. Right. Great to have you here, by the way. Right. I'm having issues applying the tools to my stressful job. Any tips to manage anxiety while working to reduce stress? My friends, one thing we have to really understand here is that don't strictly rely on your tools, okay? Because we have categorized the tool in the moment of fear as being what's called responding, okay? We all, the more you get to know this content, you will understand the power of responding, which is necessary, okay, in the building of your character, the new you, your identity and such, right? I think, Roberta, what you have to focus on is not so much utilizing the tools within the job environment, right, but focusing on momentum instead, right? When you focus on momentum in a non-obsessive manner, you know, before you go to sleep, you do something that prioritizes moving the inner child away from fear and towards understanding or neutrality. You wake up in the morning and you realize, okay, and that's a great question right there, right? The question is, in this moment, how can I provide safety to my inner child? In this moment, how can I provide the feeling and the interpretation of safety to my inner child? That's huge. And you'll find that since feelings, intrusive thoughts, and emotions are connected to inner child, let's say you're driving, right? And you're not waiting to use your tools at the workplace. But while you're driving to work, okay, you imaginatively, okay, put the inner child on your lap, just like you did when you were a child, when you were a young child. You had your teddy bear and you spoke to your teddy bear and you created a relationship with your teddy bear. You loved your teddy bear. You know, you thought it was a real person, a real thing. But of course, as we go about life, we tend to label people as being crazy in this way and such, and you know, we lose our imaginativeness and our intuitiveness. But while you're driving to work, put your inner child on your lap, and as you do, right, you show the inner child all the beauties of the drive and how calming the moment is and how safe the world is and how you're so connected to nature and such, right? So that's a very important question. I think everybody should be focusing on that question, which is, again, how can I provide safety to my inner child in this moment? Okay, and trust what comes up. Okay, trust what comes up. Many times the mind will want to edit what comes up, right? No, it can't be that way. It can't be that simple. The answer cannot come from me. It has to come from Dennis, or it has to come from somebody else. No, not necessarily. Right? The answer comes from you. You have to trust the intuitive answer that comes up in terms of how to provide safety to the inner child and run with it. Right? So don't wait to utilize tools at the workplace. Focus on momentum from the morning until you get to the workplace. And then should you choose to implement those tools, it's going to be a lot easier to implement them, right? Because we have momentum. Okay, we're not relying strictly on one thing in one specific moment, right? I hope that helps. Yeah, so Michael is coming up with some very important insights. He's recognizing the power of your vocabulary. He's recognizing the power, because, my friends, every moment of every day you are programming yourself. Every moment of every day you are programming yourself. Okay? Let me tap into this, Rose, in one moment here. You can be consciously programming yourself, or you could be unconsciously programming yourself. You could be sitting in a cafe, and next thing you know, you got hip-hop music playing in the background saying, F this, F that, you know, and talking about drugs, sex, and whatever it may be. And without your consent, you are taking that in. However, you know, there are ways, of course, to become aware and talk to the inner child in terms of why this is wrong to adopt and why this is right to adopt. You know, that level of awareness. We don't want to be obsessive with our healing, of course, but we want to be aware. So we need to understand that, yes, as we're going through every moment, we are consciously and unconsciously programming ourselves. The question is in the majority of the day, how are you programming yourself, right? What we have to understand as well is that when you find that you are negatively programming yourself, there mustn't be guilt that comes with that, but rather a sense that that's okay as well, right? That's fine as well. I just don't want to build on that. That's it, right? It's not like, oh, that happened and I was thinking wrongly or pessimistically, or I got caught up in a symptom, or someone angered me. It's not about that. It's about, is that taking up all your time, all your energy, days, weeks, months? Are you stuck in that cycle, that pattern? So eliminate the guilt, right? And let's just get back on track. That's the key. But Rose is asking, did you read up on Peter Levine's work during your healing journey? I did. I talk a lot about the brain and body connection. If so, do you have different ideas about that? First of all, I love Peter Levine. I love him as a person. I love how... here's a man who could have easily, he's a medical practitioner. He could have easily stayed within that community and the beliefs that he adopted based on his learnings, right, as being a doctor. But here's a man that went against all that, and he said, no, hold on for a second. There is a verifiable, proven aspect of physical illness and physical disturbances that come from the emotional body, right? And he, I wouldn't say he was the first person that introduced me to the mind-body connection, but he was definitely one of my mentors. But I think he gave us, along with Dr. Claire Weeks, back in the day, specifically for nervous illness, but he gave us the opportunity to allow ourselves to be one with the discomfort, the pains, even the thoughts, even the moment, because he had a horrible accident, right? He had an accident where, I guess, a car hit him or something like that. Rose, you could probably build on this. Car hit him and he was lying on the ground there, and I'll never forget this story. And in that moment, the paramedics came in and started asking him 100 different questions, like, what's your name, and this and that, how do you feel, where does it hurt? And our normal response, because those are, as we see them as authority figures, is to get caught up in their questions. But instead, what he did in that moment is he saw a woman. And that woman, felt very compassionate towards him and gentle. And he called the woman over. And the woman kneeled over and he asked, can I grab your hand? Right? And he was holding the woman's hand in that moment. I don't know the other details to it, but in that moment, he literally gave in, not gave up. Very important distinction. He didn't give up, but he gave in to what he was feeling. Okay, so he wasn't mentally caught up in getting the answers there, but he was feeling the pain, he was feeling the emotions of it all, and he allowed it to move through him and out of him. And then, I'm not sure if it was on the same day or days after or weeks after, or whatever it was, but he healed very, very quickly from what the doctors thought were going to be, a very, very difficult situation for him, right? They thought he would be crippled physically and such, but he wasn't. So just kind of ranting on Peter Levine's work, fantastic, in-depth, but as well a simple approach, not only to feel what you're feeling, but also to, like in Waking the Tiger, for example, he recognizes that in trauma work. Okay, this is important in trauma work. And to reframe traumas, he does it in a way where he allows you to run from the very thing that you were, that was causing you to feel overwhelmed in that moment. So if you were 7 and dad was screaming at you, and you were overwhelmed and crying and whatever, instead of staying there and huddled over, he would tell you to walk away or run away or whatever it was. I believe he would also tell you to express yourself in that moment. So, as you can see, a lot of my emotional reframing practices, those tools to reframe our traumas, to imaginatively go back in time and to do what we wish we would have done, to get the input from somebody else we wish we would have gotten, a lot of it can in fact be seen as coming from Peter Levine's work. Yes, I highly, highly suggest that you read his books. Yes. Also fantastic because I'm a big believer in healing the present by healing the past first, right? We're going into influencers and teachers here. I like it. Thoughts on Tony Robbins? I am torn. I am torn around Tony Robbins. I'm torn. Tony Robbins implements a lot of covert NLP type teachings. Tony relies a lot on emotion, spurring on emotion to be able to deal with things. I believe that there is certainly a tremendous amount that can be gained from his teachings. If we can, in fact, understand why he does what he does. But there's something about Tony. I can't pinpoint what it is. Maybe I can if I give it some thought, but I haven't. There's something about Tony, and I'm trusting my intuition on this one, that I don't 100% agree with. And I don't want to take anything away from Tony, but I mean, if I was in his place, I would definitely be giving master classes and online classes and such out for free, although he does have a lot of people he has to pay and such. But I can't pinpoint it. There's something about him that I don't agree with, although I truly respect him. He almost scares you to change. That's true. I believe that there's something there as well. But if I find what it is, I'll get there. Yeah. What if you don't have a specific trauma? Then don't worry about it. Then don't worry about it, Brianna. Don't worry about it. A lot of people are getting really caught up lately on finding that specific trauma. You don't find it. It finds you. Okay? It finds you. A lot of people think that when they are healing, responding, reframing, when they're doing the work, everything turns into roses, right? Unicorns and rainbows. But that's not necessarily the case. Things don't get better that quickly. Okay, you are met with an experience. You are met with a dream. You are met with a thought. You are met with these sorts of things that the inner child wants you to also resolve. Okay, so let's not get caught up in specific traumas. Rather, let's work with what is there. Okay, let's work with what is already there, and let's work on reframing those. And as long as we feel each and every day that we are progressing in the right direction with these tools that you're learning through the books and the programs, that's enough. That's really enough. Okay? So the debilitating anxiety could very well be there because of expectation, Brianna. Because of expectation. Your expectations are not being met, and therefore the anxiety is being perpetuated. So what we have to do is we have to focus on the 1%. Okay? If you're improving yourself in any way at a level of 1% each and every day, as one of my friends recently mentioned to me, then that's good. Right? You will find the information you need to as you go forward. The journey is definitely challenging, yeah. Once you start, you can't turn back, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're very welcome, right? And like I mentioned, please look into expectation, right? When expectations aren't met, right, well, it tends to take us down a spiral. I've been there. A lot of people have been there, and I think that one mindset shift, or one recognition, or one exposure-based win. One win can remove all of that old stuff and really set you on the path towards the right direction. Sherry, how are you? Welcome. Glad that you can be one of the initial people in our page. Awesome. Got the book, Join the Inner Circle, and monthly. Fantastic. Rewatch, feeling like mama. Awesome. Just make sure you don't overload yourself. Okay, just please make sure you're not overloading yourself. If you're doing the programs, please email me if you are, endtheanxiety@gmail.com. I'll set you on the right path as best I can. Setbacks. Absolutely, Michael. I know that the majority of people here are familiar with the content, and we've been working together for quite some time. You know, the Stevens and Vernice is here, and Karen and everyone. Michael, along with Michael, but setbacks in general. Here's the practice, right? The practice is to not allow your feelings to turn into emotions. Not allow a feeling to turn into an emotion, because the feeling will say, okay, the information within the feeling will say that something went wrong, okay, or something happened that is outside of what I wanted to happen. And because it happened that way, we're going backwards. That's what the feeling says. Now, in that moment, or within those moments, we have the opportunity to look at the feeling and to say, hey, feeling, right? This could be something else. That something else is connected to your own answers. Okay, but the goal within setbacks is not to allow the feelings to turn into emotions and to spiral into that pattern of thinking you're not moving forward. Right? And that's the key with setbacks. It really is. As Stephen's mentioning, there are no setbacks, just lessons on how to do something. Change how you proceeded last time. So that's a fantastic point, where you experience something that goes against your expectations, and you look back, right? A lot of people don't feel comfortable with looking back, but many times it's necessary to look back on how it occurred and look back on our past and recognize, what we're still holding on to and such. So we look back and we can really recognize the cookie crumbs that led to the setback, and therefore we can learn from it. And we don't have to overwhelm ourselves into taking action right away from what we've learned. If we learn something, we learn it. We write it down and we put it aside. We don't put pressure on ourselves. We don't tense our bodies. We don't tense our minds. We don't do these things in the hopes of creating rapid change, because one of the biggest culprits to healing is looking for change right now, is looking for that one thing, is looking for that one piece of information to get myself out of this state. And that's natural too, right? That's natural too, is to want something to happen quickly. But again, guys, this is a relearning process. That's what it is. It's a relearning process. And I'm a big believer of, if we see a cup, okay, within that cup, we've got teachings, we've got learnings, we've got belief systems. I know the cup says coffee, but please try to look beyond that, okay? And we've got a cup that is half full of stuff, half full of experiences and such. Many people take the route of I've got to do new things for myself. Okay, well, what if you put, pure liquid or pure water in the second half of this cup? What tends to happen is there's a contamination, okay? When you mix bad water with good water, it's bad water. It's not good water, okay? It's still bad water. So because we can understand that metaphor, we can say, okay, well, first I have to take what's in that cup out in order for me to put some good stuff back in. So that would be the approach, okay, that I would recommend people taking, rather than constantly shooting for the new, the new technique or the new app or the new this or the new teacher or whatever it may be, right? New is very exciting. It creates all these, the chemicals within us that are like, woo, oh, this is new. This is the thing that's going to work for me. But a lot of times we are disappointed by it. So when it comes to setbacks, as Stephen mentioned, as other people mentioned, we can learn from them. We can understand them better. We can get to a place where we don't see it as setbacks, and we can move forward, because I believe that when things go wrong, we've got a very tremendous, huge opportunity there to move things in the right direction, even more so than when we have wins, right? We have wins and we celebrate those wins and we write them down and we recognize our progress. But at the same time, when something doesn't go our way, and we use that information and we check in with ourselves to recognize how far you've truly come, we can learn more about ourselves. And that's the direction you want to go. Thank you, Leslie. Awesome. Bernice says we should stop calling a hiccup a setback. I love that. That's fantastic. That's a good word to write down, a hiccup. A hiccup, yeah. To the inner child, it may be demoralizing, right? But to our adult minds, we know better. We know better. Yeah. So, my friends, thank you for spending some time with me today. I will be posting this Facebook Live on YouTube at some point, probably Sunday. But I hope you got something out of it. I hope this has been a nice little introduction to our new page. Please spend time on this page, spend time on the support group, and be uplifted by the content I'm trying to share with you. But please do not feel like you need to be obsessive with it, okay? Nor this, nor anything else out there, because I want us to get to a point where we're smarter than that. Please don't fall for people's motivation to like this or do that or take this action or whatever it may be, all those marketing schemes and such. But go beyond that if you can, and know what's right for you, and really bring peace to yourself. But a good morning to me, possibly a good evening to you. Have a wonderful sleep. And before we go, I'd just like to take a few deep breaths and close our eyes, and just to be grateful for what we went through today, right? Take a moment to just close your eyes and just, as simple as it sounds, take a few deep breaths and just let go. And as you continue allowing yourself to breathe deeply, bring one thing to your attention that you're truly, truly grateful for from this connection on our Facebook Live. What are you grateful for from this interaction? I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your trust. I'm grateful for you inspiring me. And just bring that love to your heart, right? And if there's a color that comes to mind that's connected to that love and gratitude, then go ahead and breathe that in. Breathe it in and move it straight to your heart, and just allow yourself to let go. No expectations, my friends. No pressure. No tension. As you can open up your eyes and take it with you. Love you all. Have a great day. Bye, my friends.